Phuket, the island of hidden thresholds. There's an island in the Andaman Sea where the dead return once a year to bargain with the living, where a single monsoon night erases entire bloodlines, and where beneath the neon and beach clubs, an older Phuket still breathes, one that no guidebook has ever mapped. The threshold myth. Phuket isn't one island, it's 7 islands stacked on top of each other like geological ghosts. The tourists see Layer 1, infinity pools, fire dancers, yacht clubs. But locals know the other 6. They speak of them in temple courtyards after dark. The Chinese tin barons who built mansions on blood money. The Sea Gypsies who navigate by wave patterns, not GPS. The underground gambling dens hidden inside dental clinics. And the night in 2004 when the ocean stood up and walked inland. Every October, during the Vegetarian Festival, this layering becomes visible. Men pierce their cheeks with swords, not as performance, as penance. The island, they say, demands payment. For what? No one will tell you directly. But if you stay long enough, you'll start to understand. Phuket's shape on a map resembles a lung, and like a lung, it breathes in travelers and exhales something else entirely. Patong Beach, the electric wound. Patong Beach is the wound that won't heal, and that's exactly why it thrives. At 9 p.m., Bangla Road transforms, not gradually, like a switch. One moment, it's families eating mango sticky rice. The next, it's a river of neon and bass. The street doesn't just get louder, it changes density. The air thickens with fried garlic, gasoline, and something sweet you can't identify. But here's what they don't show in the Instagram reels. Patong wasn't always this. 50 years ago, it was a tin mining outpost. The beach was gray, not golden. The sand imported later. The palm trees planted. Even the curve of the bay was re-engineered. Patong is a stage set, and everyone here knows it. The bar owners, the jet ski operators, even the tourists, especially the tourists. There's a hotel on the hillside, the Marina Phuket, where you can watch Patong from above. At that distance, it looks like a circuit board, pulsing, overheating. But if you zoom in, you'll notice something strange. Amid the chaos, there are silent pockets, side alleys where old Thai women sell jasmine garlands at 2 a.m. A 24-hour tailor where a man has been sewing the same suit for 3 decades. A temple, painted gold, where monks meditate through the bass drops. Patong is a lesson. Transformation isn't erasure, it's layering. And the old layer is still here. You just have to know when to look. Phuket Town, the grandfather's secret. Phuket Town doesn't announce itself. It waits. You arrive expecting another beach town. Instead, you find Sino-Portuguese mansions, painted pistachio and coral, shutters half open, like eyelids after a long sleep, Chinese shop houses with crumbling porcelain tiles, and everywhere the smell of pepper and star anise, the scent of the baba nyonya, the Peranakan people who fused Chinese trade routes with Malay soul. Walk down Thaling Road at dusk. The old men sitting outside coffee shops aren't just passing time, they're gatekeepers. They remember when Phuket Town was the richest port in the South China Sea, when tin flowed like water, when fortunes were made before breakfast and lost before lunch, when secret societies ran shadow courts in temple basements. There's a shop on 𝗕𝗵𝘀𝗁 Road that sells antique coins. The owner, an 80-year-old woman, speaks 5 languages. She'll tell you about the 1876 tin rush, how men from Fujian, Malaysia, and Burma poured in, how they built clan houses and opera stages and opium dens, how they married local women and created a culture that exists nowhere else on Earth. This is the layer most travelers skip. And that's the point. Phuket Town reveals itself slowly, like a grandfather's secret, told only when you've earned it. Kata Beach, the surfer's monastery. Kata Beach has a rhythm, not the loud, drunken rhythm of Patong, a tidal rhythm, a breath. The waves here break twice. First, far out over the reef, then again close in where the sand begins. Surfers know this. That double break creates a pocket, a window where you can ride clean, medium-sized swells without the chaos of a full beach break. But Kata's real secret isn't the surf. It's the silence after. At 6 a.m., before the sun burns the mist off the hills, Kata belongs to the runners. Thai locals mostly. They don't jog for fitness. They run as ritual, barefoot, silent, along the hard-packed sand where the tide has just receded. You can hear their breath sync with the waves. Inhale on the crash, exhale on the pull. There's a monastery on the hill behind Kata, Wat Kata. Most tourists never go, but the monks come down every morning. They walk the beach with alms bowls, collecting offerings. Not money, fruit, rice, flowers. And in return, they offer blessings, whispered in Pali, the ancient liturgical language of Buddhism. Kata is where Phuket meditates. And if you stay here long enough, you'll find yourself meditating too. Not in a yoga studio, just sitting, watching the double break, understanding finally that the island operates on 2 time scales, tourist time and island time. And they're not the same. Karon Beach, the disappearing act. Karon Beach is 4 kilometers of optical illusion. From the road, it looks crowded. Beach chairs, umbrellas, vendors selling coconuts. But walk down to the waterline and something shifts. The scale expands. The beach is so wide that people disperse. You can walk for 20 minutes and never pass another soul. This is by design, or accident, or fate, depending on who you ask. Karon was never supposed to be a tourist beach. In the 1980s, it was farmland, rice paddies. Then the developers came, but they made a mistake. They built the hotels too far back, a quarter mile from the water. It seemed logical, protect against storms, but it created a dead zone, a stretch of sand too big to control. And so Karon became the beach for people who want to disappear. You'll see them, solo travelers sitting for hours staring at the Andaman, couples walking in opposite directions needing space, families from Bangkok who come here to not talk for a weekend. There's a scientific phenomenon called ocean noise, the chaotic, low-frequency rumble of waves that drowns out human speech. At Karon, the ocean noise is louder than anywhere else on Phuket because the beach is a natural amphitheater. The sound bounces off the hills behind and concentrates at the waterline. People come here to be erased by sound, by scale, by the sheer indifference of the sea.
Rawai, the Sea Gypsy doctrine. Rawai Beach doesn't look like a beach. It looks like a parking lot for long-tail boats, wooden hulls hand-painted in red and blue, engines wrapped in silk ribbons, and everywhere the smell of grilled fish and gasoline. This is the beach of the 𝗬𝗶𝗀𝗃, the Sea Gypsies, the Moken people. They were here before Thailand was Thailand, before borders, before passports. They lived on boats, moving between islands, reading the ocean like a language. But in 2004, something changed. The morning of December 26th, the Moken noticed something strange. The ocean pulled back, farther than they'd ever seen. Fish flopped on exposed reef, boats tilted on dry sand, and the Moken knew. Their ancestors had stories of this, the wave that eats people. They ran to the hills. They warned others. Many didn't listen, but the Mokens survived, all of them, because they remembered what the ocean could do. Today, Rawai is half tourist, half ghost. The seafood restaurants are packed, but the Moken keep to themselves. They live in stilted shacks on the edges. They still fish, still build boats by hand, still speak a language that has no written form. There's a shrine at the southern end of Rawai, 3 wooden posts wrapped in colored fabric. No signs, no explanations. The Moken leave offerings there: fish bones, flower petals, whiskey. When I asked a local what it was for, he said, to remind the ocean we're still here. Promthep Cape, the suicide myth. Promthep Cape is the southernmost point of Phuket. It's also the island's most photographed sunset spot. Hundreds gather every evening, cameras ready, waiting for that golden moment when the sun drops into the Andaman like a coin into a well. But there's a darker story here, one the tour guides skip. In Thai, Promthep means God's Cape, but locals call it something else, 𝗕𝗵𝗁𝗀, the waiting point. For centuries, sailors believed this cape was a threshold between the living world and the world of spirits. Ships passing Promthep would lower their sails, offer prayers, because beyond this point, you entered open ocean. And open ocean in the age of wooden boats and monsoons was a coin flip. Some didn't make it back, and their families would come here to wait for months, years, staring at the horizon, waiting for a sail that never appeared. There's a lighthouse now, built in 1996, white stone, solar-powered. At night, it sweeps the sea every 12 seconds. And according to local stories, on certain nights when the moon is dark and the wind is still, you can see lights moving beneath the water. Not bioluminescence, not fishing boats. The drowned, they say, still trying to come home. The Vegetarian Festival, when the island opens. Once a year, Phuket becomes a different country. The Vegetarian Festival, 9 days in October. No meat, no sex, no death. But that's just the surface ritual. The real event happens in the temples, specifically at Bong Nu Shrine in Phuket town. At dawn, men and women enter trance states. They become mediums for Chinese gods, and then they pierce themselves, cheeks, tongues, arms, with swords, skewers, bicycle spokes. They walk on fire, climb ladder rungs made of blades, and they don't bleed, or they do, but the blood is wrong, too thin, too bright. This isn't performance, it's theology. The festival began in the 1820s, during the Tin Rush. A Chinese opera troupe arrived in Phuket. They got sick, fever, delirium. Believing they'd angered the gods, they performed purification rituals. Abstinence, piercing, and they recovered. The practice stuck. And now, 2 centuries later, it's the most extreme religious festival in Southeast Asia. But here's the part no one explains. The participants aren't in pain. They describe it as absence, as if the gods lift them out of their bodies, as if for those 9 days they exist in 2 places at once. Phuket has always been a threshold. The festival just makes it visible. The Big Buddha, the unfinished prayer. On the spine of Phuket's highest hill sits a 45-meter-tall Buddha made of white Burmese marble. You can see him from anywhere on the island. Patong, Kata, Rawai. He faces east, toward the rising sun, hands in the gesture of reassurance. But the Big Buddha isn't finished, and maybe he never will be. Construction began in 2004, after the tsunami, as a symbol of protection. But funding comes entirely from donations. No government money, no corporate sponsors, just pilgrims, tourists, and locals who leave 20 baht notes in collection boxes. Some years, construction stops for months. The workers, volunteer monks mostly, wait for the next donation wave. Then they continue, slowly, 1 marble tile at a time. This creates a strange effect. The Buddha is both monument and process, both complete and incomplete. And in that incompleteness, there's a kind of honesty. Buddhism teaches impermanence, that all things arise and pass, that clinging to completion is a form of suffering. And so the Big Buddha, unfinished, becomes the perfect teaching. I met a monk there once. I asked him when the statue would be done. He smiled. He said, "It's already done. We're just catching up." Phi Phi Islands, the 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝗀 paradox. An hour by ferry from Phuket lies the Phi Phi Islands, and on those islands, a beach called 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝗀. You've seen the photos. Turquoise water, limestone cliffs, white sand like powdered bone. What you haven't seen, the closure. In 2018, Thai authorities shut down 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝗀 indefinitely because tourism had killed it. The coral reefs, trampled, the black tip reef sharks, gone, the beach itself, eroding. For 2 years, no one was allowed in, and something astonishing happened. The sharks returned, the coral regrew, the beach healed. In 2022, the bay reopened, but with new rules. No boats allowed to anchor, no swimming near the reef, maximum 300 visitors per day. 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝗀 became an experiment. Can a place recover? Can beauty be rationed? The answer so far is yes, but fragile. The ecosystem is rebuilding, but it's rebuilding around human schedules, around tourism quotas, around the assumption that people will keep coming. And this is the paradox. 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝗀 is more beautiful now because we almost destroyed it, because we were forced to care, because we saw what happens when paradise is treated like a commodity. Phuket is watching, because if 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝗀 can be saved, maybe Patong can too. Maybe Kata, maybe even 𝗕𝗶𝗀𝗺, maybe the island can breathe again.